Hey guys, RompSteel here again for game 2 of myself versus Franatleti. So first I want to say thanks to everyone who's sent me games. I mentioned in the War of the Rings content bit a while ago that I was running out of fun games to do. With the suspicion, like my tournament run might end at any point. So, and I think I've gone through most of the crazy games that I've played in the past that I can remember anyway. So a bunch of people have sent me games. I'm really excited to go through them. They all sound great. So thanks to everyone who sent me some. I'll get to them, I don't know, at some point. Obviously, I'm not getting paid to do this, so I'm not really on a schedule or anything. It's kind of just whenever I feel like doing it. So, what was the thing? I also tried to zoom in here a little bit more to make it bigger for you guys, so I hope that helps. Okay, so here we go. Game 2. I'm Shadow this time, so that helps anyway. Okay, so I start with Black Captain and Threats and Promises. Threats and Promises is interesting because if you are actually going to play it for the event, turn 1 is the right time to get it. But oftentimes, elves are the only nation that starts active, and Threats and Promises doesn't hinder them at all. And oftentimes that's one of the ones that is best for free peoples to muster down anyway. So I'm not really planning on playing that anyway. Probably just going to use it for Devil Reborn, I think. And Black Captain's a great card. Don't mind seeing that. Scouts and Elva Cloaks, great cards for him for turn 1. I do my usual 0 eyes, and I, get that 27% or whatever. Actually 0 eyes. I'm still pretty okay with this roll though, because 3 musters, so I can get Saruman, and I can get Sauron to war, and I can do some army shuffling. So that's still a great turn 1 roll. It is scary, of course. What if he rolls 4 movement? Then that sucks. But he rolls 2 and a P and an H, so that's entirely reasonable rolls for both of us. He passes, which makes sense. There's a slight chance that I have Lidless Eye and I play it here. So if your opponent did roll 0 eyes, I think it's often wiser to move first. But on the other hand, maybe you want them to do Lidless Eye and waste, in this instance, a Palantir and a whole movement that is a movement or muster. So that would be expensive on my part just for a 1 in 6 shot at killing Gandalf for them. So anyway. Right, so I think about it, and I end up drawing a card first because I'm, not going to play either of these two. So might as well draw a card. He passes some more. I muster Isengard down to war. Start my army shuffling. He moves the Fellowship. Muster Sauron down to war. He moves again. I get Saruman because, in theory, with the Will of the West and those 3 dice, it was possible that he might play a card or even use a ring to separate Gandalf. So if I got Saruman first, he could separate Gandalf and get Gandalf the White. But now that Will of the West's gone, now it's impossible for him to do that. He uses a ring to move again. Not crazy. You could cycle Elven Cloaks with that Palantir instead, but yeah, I think I'd value the H movement more. Because you want to get this Rohan army here, and especially with scouts in hand, you want to get that regular and old Forest Road. I shuffle armies as per usual. Yeah, all makes sense. Okay, now I pick up Orcs Multiplying, so that's a bummer. It's nice to leave armies in their stronghold until you're about to go attack something, just in case, like a good card for mustering them shows up. So that's a bit of a bummer. But there was also, Shadows on the Misty Mountains. That's why I moved this army first. So, because you never know which one you're going to pick up. So here we are. Let's see. He gets Athelas and Círdan's ships, also cool cards. Okay, so I allocate 1 eye, roll another one. Another, perfectly decent roll for both of us. Nothing too crazy. So I draw a card here. Interesting. I guess there's a chance I could have wanted to play, because I have 2 Palantirs here. So maybe I could play Orcs Multiplying and Isildur's Bane. I don't know. I guess, I don't know if they're going to get revealed or not. So I don't know. So I draw a card anyway. He passes, and then I continue with my army shuffling, and I will be right back. Okay, now we're back. Okay, so he moves the Fellowship and misses. I'm pretty okay with that as a Shadow. In general, I feel like you're better off trying to race rather than win on corruption. So The longer he doesn't get Gandalf, the more likely, the longer he doesn't kill Gandalf the Grey, the longer it takes for him to get Gandalf the White, the more likely, he'll just be on less dice and be slower. So yeah, now I play Orcs multiplying again, and we all cry a tear of inefficiency for the army about to attack Lorien. So he uses a ring to move again, which I think makes sense because that's, 2 dice hitting at 5, so 5 out of 9 chance of getting hit and being able to probably kill Gandalf. So he gets hit, but it's a 0 reveal. So that's nice for me. Like a reveal should help slow him down, and there is a slight chance that he even still can't kill Gandalf at this point. And we draw an eye. So that's great for me. They're revealed, and he can't even kill Gandalf, and he can't switch over to Strider to hide again this turn. So he has to use that Will of the West to hide instead of getting Gandalf. So, but he's still moved 5 times in the first 2 turns, so that's still a pretty quick start for the Fellowship. At the same time, my military's doing pretty good for turn 2 anyway. Right, okay, so I'm bringing these orcs down because they're a valid army now. His autopilot believes that Strider should be the guide by now, so he tries to hide with the Palantir. Makes sense. Yeah, I'm moving in on Dew, and he plays Elven Cloaks. Yeah, it's the only really playable card. You could play Spirit of Mordor on this army, I guess, but you really want your scouts here for hoping to get a unit into Woodland Realm. And yeah, of course, I don't have Swarm of Bats, so I don't bother playing something against this guy in Old Forest Road, and he has his scouts, so there he goes. Okay, so... Oh, he picks up King Brand right here. That's so nice. Yeah, I think most people would rather have Thranduil, but King Brand is certainly the next strategy card you'd want for defending Dew right now. And Mirror of Galadriel, that's awesome, means you can sprint to your heart's content to try to kill Gandalf, and you have better odds of getting a Will of the West in the near future. So I have a bit of a tough choice as to what to throw out here. And I will be right back again. Okay, take 3. So a tough call here for sure as to what to throw out. Like Devilry of Orthanc is about to be useful against Lorien. Red Tile is good. Cruel as Death, Aura Sealder's Bane is good. Deadly Strife, Desperate Battle, Mumakil, all good cards. Black Captain Command's just, you got to chuck something. I think the debate is probably between Threats and Promises or On They Went. Because, the hope right now is just that my military is going to be so fast that, I just erase them. So that's why I end up chucking the red tile. That might be a terrible choice. Feel free to let me know. So there's my roll. Happy to see few eyes, especially against no movement. That's just, I was feeling very validated by the choice to throw out the red tile because I'm about to do a lot of fighting, so I'm happy to have all these combat cards. And yeah. So he plays King Brand right off the start, which makes perfect sense, in case I attack Dale first. So I'm annoyed about that. Yeah, and I attack Dale because, that's a simple way to get the Witch King without having to attack the elves all the way down. So I play Desperate Battle here because I'm thinking it's unlikely that he has another scouts, and this way I can hopefully, kill more of these guys because they're probably going to retreat to Woodland Realm and make my life a pain. But I just miss all of them. And he's kind enough to miss all of them back. So on a Desperate Battle with no quarter, you'd expect a lot more blood than this. So I press and he retreats to Woodland Realm, which I think makes sense. And then he uses one of these H dice to move the dwarf into Erebor and 1 regular there, which makes sense because a stronghold can only hold 5 units. So when I attack, that guy was going to go back to the forced pool anyway. And he has another H die that, what else is he going to do with it? So he's threatening to also get to walk this guy over to Erebor and have that all the way topped up. So I don't know if I'm wasting an attack here, but I attack Withered Heath just so that, he doesn't get to fully top it up. He has no card. I kill him. He doesn't get a hit back. So I don't know. Maybe that was a waste. Maybe I made my life easier. I don't know. I hate, the plan here would be to besiege Woodland Realm afterwards. So then I have to leave an orc or 2 behind to try to make sure he doesn't retake Dale and start mustering again. So that was also part of the thought process. So I put Lorien under siege just in case he, has power too great and hasn't played it. which he doesn't, obviously, but yeah. Witch King, just in case he's feeling crazy enough to do a field battle. And now I attack Woodland Realm, so yeah. So he uses a ring to move again here. And wouldn't you know it, it gets the 1 and 6 and gets hit, so he gets to kill Gandalf. So I'm feeling sad about that anyway. And the other plus side to getting the Witch King is that now I can play Black Captain for, get to use this Palantir as an attack, so that helps. So I got my 2 extra Nazgul, and I go at him. Right, and I use the Sealer's Bane here because I have plenty of Nazgul leadership, and I just roll a devastating amount of hits to kick things off, so that helps. And my goodness, we are back again. Okay, here we go. He punches back reasonably well. Yeah, so I'm bummed about that, but still very pleased with the amount of damage I've done. So I guess I go with no card. I guess I'm just hoping for 2 6s on 10 dice. Yeah, because I guess you don't want to play Palantir for the Cruel's Death here. Like that, it's early. That's a very useful card. He's even out of rings already on turn 3. And Deadly Strife feels like overkill, so I guess that's why I went with no card. But I just roll no 6s, and I'm kind of wishing I'd played Deadly Strife because that would have been enough to finish him off. He is, kind enough to not hit back. It's crazy. Like Dale was no hits, first Siege on Woodland Realm, 4 and 3 hits, and then no hits again. It's just we're all or nothing here. So then he uses his H to bring that guy there on the row here to Helm's Deep. That's reasonable, yeah. And then I use a ring to attack Woodland Realm again, because I've got 3 rings here now already as Shadow. So that's a very weird feeling to have so many rings, but it's like might as well start using them now, because sometimes a game is over by turn 6 or 7. So I would rather, have used it as an attack rather than, be stuck on a turn later with 3 Palantirs and 3 rings and wishing I could use them all. But you can only use 1 per turn. So, I could have played Palantir of Orthanc here because, if he gets a Will of the West next turn, he's going to have to choose between getting Gandalf the White or destroying the Palantir. So maybe, but if he rolls 2, then I'm kind of just chucking out the Palantir for not a lot of value. Anyway. But now I play Deadly Strife because, I'm out of elites. I don't have a lot of pressing to do, and I want to get this over with before Thranduil can show up. So he plays Heroic Death into it. And sadly, I only roll 2 hits. So now I'm really regretting not playing Deadly Strife before last time. And he gets... He should have gotten 2 hits. Oh, we only recorded 1. Whoops. Oh well. Always interesting when you run into mistakes later on. So he picks up Celeborn. That's very nice for him. Challenger the King, and Athelas. There's some interesting Strider and Aragorn decisions to make here. So Swarm of Bats, Flocks of Crabine, decent cards for me. Players, and he rolls that. So that's good stuff for him. He wants to get Gandalf and he wants to keep moving. That might be a little bit scary for him because he doesn't have a ring. So if he does get Gandalf, then he can't play Celeborn's this turn. So if I pivoted to get Lorien next, that would be frustrating for him anyway. He moves first. I rolled first because he just paused for a bit after putting it there. So I thought he'd put it in. And technically, you're not supposed to count rolls that happen early. So we discard that. And now he moves. And I miss. So that's a little bit sad for me, but whatever. It could have just as easily gone the other way. If I'd missed the first time, we still would have had to throw them out. So anyway. So now I attack Woodland Realm. Obviously you just want to finish it off. So I play Desperate Battle here. Makes sense. He plays Sudden Strike. Okay, and he manages to not get any hits back with that. I like that. So he moves again, and I miss again. So this is getting a little nervous for me. Because it's possible he could get to Mordor this turn, but he needs to move again and not get revealed. And it's more likely that he gets revealed than not. So I'm hoping he does. I'm also playing the Palantir now just on the hope that he uses the Will of the West for that instead. And if not, I have 2 Palantirs here, so I can do a bit of card redrawing. I don't really want to play any of these cards, but he doesn't know that. He moves again, which I think makes sense. And I hit him, but I don't reveal him. So now I'm very sad because, man, like getting to move 3 times against 3 dice and not get revealed once is just very frustrating. And turn 4 getting into Mordor is so fast. So now I don't remember what I do next. Right, I play this one. Right, I shuffle armies over, and because I'm playing the Palantir, I'm hoping to draw into Cruel Weather. So he passes, which I think is interesting, because if he just moved now, then he could get revealed, and then he'd be safe from Cruel Weather. But because he pauses, that gives me a chance to get Cruel Weather anyway. I play Candles and whiff, and that's sad. And I draw not Cruel Weather again. Like, it is unlikely that I get Cruel Weather, though, so that's a reasonable choice on his part. So I go shuffling armies, and now he's thinking, debating between getting Gandalf the White or getting into Mordor this turn. I guess he was waiting, or maybe he was hoping that I'd play Cruel Weather, because that way it's out of the way, and then he can get Gandalf and not have to stress about whether he made the right call or not. But I don't know, I think getting into Mordor a whole turn earlier is pretty powerful. So I hit him with 2 and gets an eye, so he chooses to, I don't know, he thinks about it. Right, takes a random, gets Boromir, gets revealed into Mordor, draws another 2, and then goes up to 4. Yeah, when you're getting revealed, it's nice to be up to 4 corruption just in case your opponent has Morgul Wound anyway. So I think that makes sense. Right, and I'm just carrying on my way with military, so I attack Erebor. So he picks up Dane, which is perfect, another perfect card. And I pick up Shelob's Lair, which is decent, and Monstrous Rouse, which is decent for Desperate Battle. So I chuck Wormtongue. I feel like that seems like the obviously correct choice to me anyway. Maybe throwing out Phlox or one of these Devilry of Orthancs would be a reasonable choice. Okay, so that's what I roll, that's what he rolls. That's fantastic for him. He can get Gandalf and he can still move some. He thinks, and he ends up hiding first, which I think makes sense. You don't want to give me not as much time to, put red tiles in or do whatever other horrible things I'm going to do. And I decide to put Shelob in there first. Yeah, which it feels a little bit silly because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 13 other tiles in there, so it's a fairly big hunt pool still. So it's only 1 in 14 that Shelob's going to get drawn. But there's also all these other moves, so you never know. It might. And delaying him a whole turn helps a lot, for sure. So he moves, and it's Shelob, which is, that immediate validation for my choice there. Feels great, for sure. And if you'll remember last game, the game was decided by him playing Isildur's Bane and drawing Shelob and rolling a 6. So I'm happy to see Shelob come in and show up on my side this time. So, I commented how it'd be funny if I also rolled a 6, but I prefer to set the bar low and then get impressed. So, and then I roll a 6. I actually rolled a 6, the same way he did last game. So, like, the odds of 2 6s being rolled is 1 in 36 in the first place. Forget also, Shelob showing up from the deck and being played in time to be useful, like to be out there. So just the odds of like Shelob 6 happening 2 games back to back is just crazy. Yeah, just bananas luck. So he takes a random and it's Strider. So yeah, it's taking a random there is a little bit risky because if it's a Hobbit, then you're going up to 9 corruption. But on the other hand, he knows that Isildur's Bane and Candles are already gone. Like, I'm really regretting that Candles didn't do any damage at this point, because if he'd drawn a Hobbit, he'd be there. And if I'd played Candles, then he'd be, 10, 11. But maybe if I'd gotten more damage with Candles, he would have just taken Strider and not risked a random. So anyway, I'm very happy to see Strider gone and them stopped. So the Fellowship's going to be a lot slower now, that's for sure. So I muster the Southrons down. I muster them down again. And obviously now I could play Day Without Dawn, so now he gets Gandalf the White. So he thinks for a bit, and he decides to bring Gandalf in Lorien, which, he sees that he has Celeborn. I don't see that. So, yeah. In hindsight, that kind of makes me wish that I'd rushed Lorien right now. Like maybe used a ring to bring Naz. Maybe that would be dumb to bring Nazgul though, because I don't know. Anyway, I have my 4 attacks left here, and he obviously doesn't have a muster. He doesn't even have any rings. So I'm very happy, very excited about bringing this army over to get Dole Amroth. Little do I know, there's Círdan's ships waiting for me for next turn anyway. But yeah, so then he moves the Fellowship, of course, and gets a 3. So that's perfectly nice for him to not get revealed this time anyway. But suddenly corruption's an issue. Like all it takes is a Shelob 6, and you go from being in spectacular health to not spectacular health. Now they're at 8 corruption with 4, hit points and companions left, but that's certainly not a sure, safe passage anymore. So I attack Galar. I get my 1 hit. He gets 1 back. Gondor's at war. I carry on my merry way. I stopped to bring the extra regulars because I don't know if Dane Ironfoot is out there. It turns out he is. So I think that makes sense. So it's always good to have more bodies if you're not sure how strong the opponent's going to be. Then, of course, I besiege Dole Amroth. Okay, so happy to see Shadows on the Misty Mountains. That's a good backup for, bringing in reinforcements to hopefully crack Lorien and kill Gandalf here. What did I kill? I killed Flocks of Crabine. Yeah, that's reasonable. Yeah. Like all of these are pretty much decent combat cards, except Shadows, which I'm planning on playing for the event. So anyway, he throws out We Prove the Swifter. Yep, that makes sense because Gandalf's already in a siege, so that's unplayable. You could maybe keep it to play, what do you call it? Daring Defiance, but you're planning on shining with Gandalf anyway, I guess. So yeah, anyway. So I roll No More Eyes. That's good news for me. He rolls this, which at the time I was happy to see because, only 2 movement and he doesn't have Strider to keep hiding anymore. So hopefully he's not getting too much done this turn. I'm happy to see 2 musters. That means I can get Mouth. And the reason I didn't get Mouth of Sauron last turn is because I had 6 other dice. Like I had, okay. So there was the eye. And then, or was it 2 eyes? I don't remember. I remember, I very specifically, I had 1 die for playing Shelob, and then the other 6 dice were invested in this Dole Amroth plan, because I had to muster them down to war twice, and then 4 attacks to get there. So if I'd had an extra muster or H, I would have happily brought in the Mouth, but I wanted to get this stronghold weak, and I thought that was worth delaying the Mouth by 1 turn. Turns out he had Círdan's ships, so oh well. But yeah, like I said, I didn't know that. Yeah, so he plays Círdan first, is interesting, between Dane, Celeborn, and Círdan. I think that makes sense because this is the one I'm the most well positioned to attack, but it's also least likely that I can crack it because there's no elites here. So like blowing that up in 1 round, I would have to have Grond, which is a chance, but also like it's only 10 hit points to 6, so the Grond would be risky. So I muster the Mouth in, which I think makes sense because obviously you want to bring the Mouth to fight against Gandalf because that's leadership he can't cancel. And then he plays Dane. So I'm impressed at that point. So I shuffle my leadership around. I bring the Witch King just for redraw and so that he has to shine. And then he also plays Celeborn. So that was just, it felt like witchcraft, honestly. It just felt devastating. Like Círdan, Dane, Celeborn. Just like all 3 of the best cards for the 3 strongholds I'm besieging right now in a row in 1 turn. It was just like bam, bam, bam. You can't get anything. It was, that felt bad. I would feel amazing as Free Peoples. Just like starting that turn, I would just, if I was the Free Peoples, I'd be sitting here sniggering to myself the whole time because it would just feel amazing. But anyway, so at this point, I remember thinking like, there's a chance my only hope here is corruption now. Like simply because that Shelob 6 made it possible. Anyway. Okay, so I attack Lorien because, I don't know, I have these 2 Devilry of Orthancs here, and it would be nice to kill Gandalf anyway, because obviously he can't dunk this turn, so if I kill Gandalf, then he's down 4 dice, so that's nice. But but he has an advantageous position to play into it, so that feels bad. So I get no hits, and he gets 1. So I don't bother pressing because he's still looking pretty strong. He moves the Fellowship, 1 reveal. He decides he wants to use the Will of the West first, just in case I drew Day Without Dawn, I guess. I prefer to play nice anyway, so I'd let him switch. Takes a random, gets Mary, makes sense. I try Lorien again because I have this other Devil Ray Vorthank, and he has another advantageous position. So that just felt so frustrating. It was like he just had the perfect answer to everything I wanted to do this turn. Yeah, was a bummer. So I got another round of no hits. And another round of no hits back from him. A lot of that this game. I'm looking at Rage of the Dunlendings and Shadows of the Misty Mountains. That's a decent combo for, spawning another army in Moria here to come and help. But I'm also wondering if it might make more sense to just go elsewhere, because this is pretty strong. I don't know. He decides to pass. I play Foul Thing because, I guess I'm giving up hope, and I'm just hoping to win on Corruption. So I was hoping he'd hide first, and then I'd play Foul Thing for exactly this scenario, for if I draw the 0 or the 1. But then I guess, it's unlikely. Might as well play it now anyway. It's still good to get that tile out of the way. Like, this is a better hunt pool for me now than it was before, anyway, for if I'm hoping for Corruption, because that's a 0. Anything but an eye really would have been good news for me. Okay, so now I give up because most of these cards aren't really great to play against Gandalf, so now I decide I'll go after Dole Amroth. I play Swarm of Bats, and I whiff again, so it's just 3 rounds of combat in a row of not a single hit dealt. So it's frustrating for sure. I don't press. I remember rethinking my plan like 4 or 5 times in a row this turn. I go for Dole Amroth again. I go for Desperate Battle, and I get 5 hits, so I guess my hits were just spring loading. And the really sad part about this is if I'd kept up against Dole Amroth, against Lorien, this would have been 5 hits there too, because I only have 2 leadership, but because 3 hits in the first round, so 5 hits there would have changed the course of the game for sure. But obviously, I'm still happy to get the 5 against Dole Amroth, and only 1 back from him. So naturally, I press because this is a fairly sure victory at this point. No card, I get my 2 6s. So Dole Amroth is done. So that helps anyway. That gives me a bit more hope for my military edge. So he hides the Fellowship naturally, and I shuffle leadership around. Wonder what's the plan now at this point? I don't obviously I'm going for Erebor next because I have this army and this army that should hopefully be enough anyway. But what the plan is for the last 2 points, I don't know. Maybe I'm still hoping to do Lorien, or maybe I'll go for the 4 cities with Rage of the Dunlendings. I don't know. I actually don't even remember what I did, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. Okay, so he picks up File and Fire Mirrors Rangers, decent cards. I get Grond and Fighting Uruk-hai. Grond is nice, especially for accelerating the siege up here, but like we said, it's risky because it's not a very strong army. And he gets an absolutely perfect roll for just running with the Fellowship. And he gets also perfect with drawing a 3 there. That way he gets all the way down to Gollum, so that I guess when there's only 1 revealing normal tile, that doesn't make as big of a difference. But it just feels good getting down to Gollum anyway. So what do I do here? Oh, right. Yeah. So I use a ring to chuck this in here. I'm officially hoping for Corruption at this point. So that if he takes another step with these 3 character dice, and I will just kill him, because now there's 4 eyes in there, so that will just straight up 4 damage. He's done. So I don't know. Looking at his cards, he has 3 cards he's very happy to play and wait a turn, but of course that buys me more time. So then I also play Many Kings here, mainly because I just want to cycle with the Palantir here. And I draw The Ring Is Mine. So he thinks about it for a bit, and then he passes, which I'm quite happy to see because now I get to put in this red tile that I just drew. But at the same time, I think moving would have been risky for sure. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 5 chance that he loses the game on the spot if he moves. So, and there's no real rush for him to play any of these cards like Worn with Sorin Toil isn't a threat anymore. So I think that makes sense to wait. I'm very happy to get that red eye in there. Ring Race, that's a good card. And I bring this back up because, whatever. Might as well bring the bodies while I'm walking. So Strider's officially, he's dead, so I don't have to worry about dead men anymore. And there's no Boromir, so I don't have to worry about House of the Stewards. Maybe Rohan could run around, but they're not even at war yet, so that seems unlikely. So I just leave Dole Amroth empty, because I'm figuring I'm going to need everybody for fight over Pelargir. Maybe, anyway. I don't know. So he musters up in Minas Tirith. I go on Erebor. And I play Onslaught here because I want to use up as many of these regulars as possible and then bring in reinforcements. Because, if you just lose a couple regulars at a time, then it kind of takes a while before you can bring in this backup here. So, anyway, that's my thought. Also, with a lot of regulars and not much elites, it can be hard to leverage them. Like, it takes a lot of dice to actually use your hit points well to cause damage. So this is a way to hurry up and use lots of regulars to get damage done faster. So he plays Shield Wall. I don't even get one hit, so that's frustrating. He gets 2 hits back. And then I put 4 on the Onslaught, and I roll 4 hits on the Onslaught. So that's crazy. I don't think I've actually ever had that before, where an Onslaught hit all 4. So that helps a lot, anyway. Erebor went from tough nut to crack that might not work to guaranteed this will work. With this backup, unless a miracle happens anyway. So he plays Athelas and gets 1 healing, so that's about average. Yes, that's an interesting question. Do you play File or do you move on the last one? I think I'd be tempted to play File, but you see this backup coming, and it gets scary because what if you don't have any rings? You don't have there as another way. So next turn you'd need at least 2 movement, and if you run into an eye, then you would need 3 movement, and you're only on 5 dice, so that's you might not be able to dunk next turn then. So it's definitely it's defendable either way. So it's 50% that he draws a bad one, but he does have Mithril Coat and Sting, of course, so that's the odds of drawing one of these eyes and then another one is less than 1 in 4 then. So he moves the end. And he draws an eye, which is great news for me. And he uses Mithril, which makes sense, I think, because you're 5 out of 9 to draw something you like anyway, or something a lot less bad than an eye. And it might be the end of the game to just take this because it's 4 damage in revealed. So then he's up to 11 in revealed. And if I have Morgul Wound, Breaking of the Fellowship, or Lure of the Ring, all of those would do 1 damage to him and just win the game. And I haven't played any of them yet. So I think as the Free People's player, I think it's correct to do that. As it turns out, I don't have any of those cards. So maybe he could have risked not using Mithril. But I think that's correct. And then he draws the Red Eye, which is just brutal stuff. That's terrible luck. That is the absolute worst case scenario for him. Because now he's at that 11 damage and revealed, but he's didn't even get that step accomplished. So now it's very, very unlikely that he can win now. I carry on with my military plans anyway, because I can't do anything about that. I mean, maybe I could play Orc Patrol and try to finish him off, but that's if I draw any of these eyes, I've made his life better. So anyway. I use it just to cycle here because I'd like to chuck in another red tile. I really wanted to cycle because I wanted to get one of those do 1 damage while he's revealed cards. Because next turn, if he takes a step, he can't afford to take a single damage. So he needs it to be one of these 4 tiles. And if it's one of these 3 ones, then he needs to reveal to stay alive. So if I can cycle into one of those cards, it makes it a lot more likely that I can kill him next turn on Corruption. So anyway, I get 3 hits, so that's pretty good. And he gets 4 hits back, which hurts, but I'm very okay with just the overall trade of bodies there. So round 2, no card. I got my 1/6. So that's the end of Erebor. So it's an interesting choice here. I could keep Worn with Sore and Toil because Words of Power would be helpful against Gandalf. Be interesting to see what I chuck here. So he picks up those two cards, which are meh. Like Last Battle is a good card for Daylight, and Brave Stand is good for Gandalf here, but I might go elsewhere for my 2 points now. So yeah, I think I officially gave up on Lorien because I used Shadows on the Misty Mountains as an onslaught in Erebor. So I think at that point, like after the bad luck in Lorien to start with, I officially just gave up on the idea of Lorien and decided I'm going to go elsewhere for those 2 points. Yeah, Fellowship definitely not okay. Red Tile's just brutal in our series so far. Like that Isildur's Bane Shelob 6 winning the first game, and then Shelob and The Ring is Mine. Well, not technically quite deciding the game here, but certainly making it almost impossible for the Fellowship to win at this point anyway. So he hides first, which I think is correct. Because, again, if I had one of those cards, I had one more corruption. That's the end of the game. So not much choice for him there. I play the Ring Wraiths or Abroad here. That's right. He shines because he's expecting me to attack Lorien, but I'm actually not. I'm running away because I'm a chicken. So I remember thinking for a bit here. Actually, no, I specifically remember not thinking for a bit here and then kicking myself after. So he draws a character card, which I think makes sense. Because not only you might pick up an Ents card, which is helpful in defending Rohan, but also to have a shot at winning, he needed to pick up There Is Another Way right there. Because he doesn't have any more rings. So he can move once if he's, lucky enough to get the blue tile and not have to reveal himself, then he'd need to move again. So if he'd picked up There Is Another Way, then he could move with this Palantir. But that was 1 in 15, so slim odds anyway. So what I remember kicking myself for here is what I should have done instead of moving an Nazgul here to get a movement there. Because it does make sense to bring this army here to defend against Pelargir. Because with that H, he's probably going to bring these guys down there and these guys over here to fight for Pelargir. But if I brought a Nazgul here and brought these orcs down, then with an army movement, I could have combined them together in East Emnet and then rushed at Helm's Deep. As it is, this army is weaker now. So I really should have thought that through. I was just playing too fast. I made a mistake there. So yeah, I bring them out late now as a just in case, I guess. So he passes again, and it is nice to bring this army over here to help defend Pelargir anyway, because now that's an unlikely fight for him to win. So he uses the H to, consolidate in Helm the Deep and I guess feint towards a Free People's military win, just in case I freak out. Sometimes people freak out. Makes sense. But I'm very happy that he left Fords of Isen empty, though, because now I can unite these two armies together. And now this is even stronger than if I'd had the 3 orcs. So that's a tough call as Free Peoples anyway. I think it would have actually been correct to leave a regular there. Just so I couldn't do that. But at the same time, if you had left the regular there and I'd come in and smashed it, then you'd kind of feel silly for not having brought in the 5th unit. So, I don't know. So he draws another card, I guess, just hoping for more Ents cards or cards to help. So I attack Helm's Deep, puts it under siege, and he plays File here because he hit at the start of the turn, so he's not going to take 1 corruption. And I think that makes sense because you can't win anyway this turn. So you might as well make your odds better for next turn and hope Helm's Deep survives. And I have Fighting Uruk-hai, so that helps a lot. And I open with Corsairs. So let's see. I could have opened with Devilry or Swarm of Bats or Relentless Assault, but I figured he might have Huorn Dark or Daylight, and it feels really nice getting to play a card like Deadly Strife that just adds so much attacking firepower on a round where you're sure they can't play a card like Daylight to nerf it at all. So I'm very happy to open with Deadly Strife, and I get 4 hits. So that's great. That should be enough to win this now. He gets 4 hits back. So round 2, I get to draw a card. I'm not sure what do I play here. I think I play. That's right. I play Swarm of Bats because I'm worried about Ents cards and stuff. And if he doesn't have a card, then I get added bonus on my attack anyway. And I whiff and get no hits again. So now I'm starting to get a little bit nervous. Like, what if I don't win this round? Like, even if I don't win with this attack, I, still probably am going to win the game at this point. But it's always a little unnerving when the tides just start to go not your way, So round 3, I play Great Host. He plays Emp's Rage. And I get 2 6s anyway. So that's it. That's GG. Yeah, so obviously I'm very happy to take it to game 3. Even if I lose in game 3, it feels better having taken it to game 3 than losing in the first 2. Yeah, but it's crazy because if the luck had been a little bit nicer to the Fellowship in Mordor, we'd still be going to game 3, but I think it would have been with 2 Free People's victories. Just crazy stuff. And as I point out, he can claim slightly worse luck than me because the hunt pool was bigger and he still hit 2 red tiles, whereas mine was smaller. I think it was like 6 tiles when Shelob got drawn by Isildur's, but that was obviously still bad luck for me. But yeah. So that's the end of the game. Let's take a look, see at statistics. Really, -5 on 6s for me. It didn't feel like that. It felt like combat went pretty well for me. -5 on 6s for him too, so that helps, I guess. I guess I just had good enough cards to help out anyway. So he rolls decent for me. A little plus on attacks, +4 Cs, +2 As, -2 Is, -4 musters. That's not great, not amazing, but not terrible either. Late game, obviously, less musters is better, but early game, yeah. And yeah, pretty average for him too. So yeah, anyway, we're playing game 3 tomorrow. Hopefully I get to make another video that has a happy ending for me anyway. Thanks for watching. See ya.